Daniel Harper had been on the force for 15 years, a patrol officer in the city's North District, known for its rough streets and high crime rates. At 42, he carried the weight of countless calls, shootings, robberies, domestic disputes. He prided himself on his instincts, honed over years of navigating tense situations. To his colleagues, he was reliable, quick to act, and unafraid to use force when needed. To others, especially in the communities he patrolled, he was a symbol of overreach, a white officer whose aggressive style often left black and brown residents feeling targeted. On a humid July evening, Harper was cruising in his patrol car with his partner, Officer Mike Callahan, a younger cop with 5 years on the job. They were working the 4 p.m. to midnight shift, the kind that often brought trouble as the city's pulse quickened after dark. Harper's radio crackled with a call about a speeding vehicle, a black SUV weaving through traffic on MLK Boulevard. The dispatcher's voice was calm but firm. The vehicle matched a description tied to a recent string of carjackings. Harper's adrenaline kicked in. He flipped on the sirens and pulled onto the boulevard, scanning for the SUV. When he spotted it, the vehicle was moving fast, cutting through lanes without signaling. Harper signaled for it to pull over, but the driver didn't comply immediately, continuing for another block before slowing and easing to the curb. Harper's jaw tightened. Noncompliance, even brief, set him on edge. He exchanged a glance with Callahan, who nodded, already reaching for his notepad. They stepped out of the cruiser, Harper leading the way. The driver was a black woman, mid-40s, dressed in a tailored blazer and slacks, her hair pulled back in a neat bun. She sat upright, her hands visible on the steering wheel, but her expression was unreadable through the tinted window. Harper approached, his hand resting on his holster, a habit born of years facing unpredictable situations. Callahan flanked him, staying a step behind. "License and registration," Harper said, his tone clipped. The woman didn't move immediately, instead turning her head slowly to meet his gaze. Her eyes were steady, assessing, and Harper felt a flicker of unease. He repeated his demand, louder this time. "I said license and registration. Now." The woman's voice was calm, measured. "I'm reaching for my ID. It's in my purse, on the passenger seat." She moved deliberately, retrieving a leather wallet and handing over her driver's license. Harper took it, glancing at the name, Aisha Thompson. It meant nothing to him. He noted her address, a neighborhood far from the North District, one of the city's wealthier areas. His suspicion deepened. "You were speeding," he said, handing the license to Callahan to run it. "And you didn't pull over right away. Why is that?" "I was finding a safe spot to stop," she replied, her voice steady but carrying an edge. "I didn't want to cause an accident." Harper's eyes narrowed. Her composure irritated him, a reaction he couldn't fully explain. "Step out of the vehicle," he ordered. Callahan shot him a glance, but said nothing. "Is that necessary?" she asked, still calm but with a slight challenge in her tone. "Now," Harper snapped, his hand tightening on his holster. The woman sighed softly, unbuckled her seatbelt, and stepped out. She was tall, nearly matching Harper's height, and carried herself with a confidence that made him bristle. He gestured toward the sidewalk. "Over there." As she moved, Harper noticed a badge clipped to her belt. His stomach twisted, but he pushed the thought aside. Plenty of people carried fake badges. "What's that?" he asked, pointing. "My identification," she said, her tone now carrying a hint of impatience. "I'm a police officer." Harper scoffed. "Sure you are. Let's see it." She unclipped the badge and handed it to him. He examined it, his heart sinking as he read the title, Chief Inspector Aisha Thompson, City Police Department. His new commanding officer, who'd started just a week ago. He hadn't met her yet, most patrol officers hadn't, but her name had been circulating. Harper's face burned, but his instincts took over, doubling down. "This could be fake," he said, tossing the badge to Callahan, who fumbled it, his eyes wide. "Run it." "Officer," Thompson said, her voice low and firm. "You're making a mistake." "Don't tell me how to do my job," Harper shot back. The heat, the adrenaline, the sudden realization of who she might be, It all churned inside him. He stepped closer, too close, his voice rising. You were speeding, you didn't comply, and now you're flashing some badge like it's a get-out-of-jail-free card. Step back, she said, her eyes locked on his. That's an order. The word order hit him like a slap. His hand moved before he could think, a quick, open-handed shove to her shoulder, pushing her back a step. Don't talk to me like that, he growled. Callahan gasped. Dan, what the hell? Thompson didn't flinch, but her eyes blazed. Officer Harper, you just assaulted a superior officer. Stand down. Harper froze, the weight of her words crashing over him. Callahan stepped between them, holding up his hands. Okay, let's all calm down. Ma'am, we'll verify your ID and… It's verified, she interrupted, her voice like steel. Call it in. Now. Callahan scrambled to the radio, his hands shaking. Harper stood rooted, his mind racing. The badge looked real. Her name matched. But his pride, his years of authority on these streets, wouldn't let him back down. If you're who you say you are, why were you driving like that in this neighborhood? He demanded. Thompson's jaw tightened. I don't owe you an explanation, officer. But since you're so curious, I was on my way to a community meeting. One you'd know about if you paid attention to department memos. The radio crackled, and the dispatcher's voice confirmed it. Chief Inspector Aisha Thompson, badge number verified. Harper's stomach dropped. Callahan turned to him, his face pale. Dan, she's the chief. Harper's world tilted. He opened his mouth to speak, but nothing came out. Thompson stepped forward, her presence commanding. You're suspended, Officer Harper. Hand over your badge and weapon. You'll report to my office tomorrow morning. Harper's hand trembled as he unclipped his badge, his mind a blur of anger, shame, and disbelief. He'd just assaulted his boss. In front of his partner. On a busy street where onlookers were already gathering, phones out, recording. Thompson took his badge and weapon, her expression unreadable. Go home, officer. You've got a lot to answer for. As she returned to her vehicle, Harper stood frozen, the weight of his actions sinking in. Callahan placed a hand on his shoulder, but Harper shrugged it off. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, and he knew this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. The next morning, Harper sat outside Thompson's office, his uniform feeling like a costume he no longer deserved. The precinct buzzed with whispers. Everyone knew. His career, his reputation hung by a thread. When he was called in, Thompson sat behind her desk, her gaze piercing. Explain yourself, she said, her voice calm but unyielding. Harper swallowed hard. I didn't know it was you, ma'am. I thought. You thought I was a threat, she cut in. Based on what? My skin color? My car? Or just your own assumptions? He flinched. It wasn't like that. I was doing my job. Your job doesn't include assaulting a civilian or a superior officer, she said. You've got a history, Harper. Complaints about excessive force, racial profiling. I've read your file. Harper's face burned. Those were cleared. I'm a good cop. Good cops don't make snap judgments based on bias, she said. You saw a black woman in a nice car and assumed the worst. That's not instinct. That's prejudice. He wanted to argue, but the truth in her words stung. He'd acted on autopilot, his years of experience warped by unchecked assumptions. I'm sorry, he said finally, his voice low. I didn't mean to. I messed up. Thompson leaned forward. This isn't about apologies. It's about accountability. You're facing an investigation, and I'll be overseeing it personally. Your actions reflect on this department, and I won't tolerate a culture that excuses this. Harper nodded, his throat tight. What happens now? You're on administrative leave pending the investigation, she said. And you'll undergo mandatory bias training. If you keep your badge, you'll be under my direct supervision. The words hit like a punch. His career, his identity as a cop, was in her hands. He stood, saluted, and left her office, the weight of his mistake heavier than ever. Over the next weeks, the incident became a citywide story. Community leaders demanded reform. citing Harper's actions as evidence of systemic issues. The precinct faced protests, and Thompson held press conferences, promising change. Harper, meanwhile, grappled with his actions, attending training sessions that forced him to confront his biases head-on. He began to see the patterns in his behavior, the split-second decisions that had compounded over years. Thompson, too, faced challenges. Her authority was questioned by some officers who saw her as an outsider, too quick to judge Harper. But she stood firm, implementing new policies on de-escalation and community engagement. She met with Harper regularly, pushing him to reflect on his actions while maintaining her professionalism. By the investigation's end, Harper was reinstated but demoted, assigned to desk duty under Thompson's watch. He'd lost the respect of many colleagues, but he also began to change, slowly, through the training and Thompson's unrelenting standards. The precinct, too, began to shift, with new accountability measures taking root. The incident wasn't just Harper's reckoning, it was a turning point for the department, a painful step toward confronting its flaws.